Hello students, welcome to Edupedia Word Videos. My topic for the presentation is second section of the chapter Anatomy of Flowering Plants. In this section of the video, we will discuss about the meristem, which is based on origin and development, and meristem based on their function. So meristem based on origin and development, first classification is Promeristem. Okay. It is also called as primordial meristem, or it is also called as embryonic meristem, students. Okay. Promeristem, it is a localized group of meristem cells or meristematic cells that are present in the early age of embryo or in the germinating embryo or young seedlings. Okay. See, this is the seedling, and this is germinating seed, which give rise to radicle and plumule. In later stages it give rise to shoot system, and in radicle it give rise to root system. Okay, so by repeated cell division, promeristem, it give rise to primary meristem. I have already taught you in my previous section of the presentation. For better understanding, you can refer to it. Okay, so promeristem, it give rise to primary meristem by repeated cell divisions. So what it is? It is a group of young meristematic cells of growing organ, and it is present in the early embryonic meristem or in the young germinating seed, which other advanced meristems are derived from. Okay, so in a plant, it occupies a small area at the tip of stem and root, and it further divides to form primary meristem. That means promeristem, which is also called as primordial meristem, it give rise to primary meristem. Then comes primary meristem. So primary meristem, it is derived from promeristem. Promeristem is also called as primordial meristem. Okay, so primary meristem, it retain the capacity to divide throughout the life, and cells, they are always in active state of cell division, and it give rise to primary permanent tissue. It is represented by apical meristem. As you can see, this is apical meristem, which is present at the apex of the shoot, and this is intercalary meristem, which is present between the calary meristem. Okay, see, this is the zoom view, and this area, it is called as interfascicular cambium, that is present at the fascicle of phloem and xylem. See, this is xylem, this portion, and this is phloem. Phloem and xylem, these are the conducting tissues which conducts food, water, and mineral ions. Okay, so interfascicular cambium, it is present between xylem and phloem. So intercalary meristem, if you talk about, then it is responsible for longitudinal growth. That means it help in elongating the length of a plant body. Then comes intrafascicular cambium. It helps in giving the secondary growth to the plant. Okay, whereas this apical meristem, it gives or it helps in primary growth of angiosperms. Okay, so this intrafascicular cambium, it is responsible for the radial growth, or it helps in improving the girth of a plant body. So primary meristem, these are derived from promeristem or primordial meristem. They are present below the promeristem at shoot and the root apices, and these cells, they divide and they form permanent tissue. Then comes secondary meristem. It develops in plant body during later stages of the growth. Please note that. Primary meristem, it is formed from promeristem, and secondary meristem, it develops in the plant body during later stages of growth. Okay, they arise in primary permanent tissue like parenchyma, by which process? De-differentiation process. Okay, that includes see, this is the transverse section of dicot stem. So primary meristem, it includes interfascicular cambium in dicot stem. This is another transverse section of dicot root, wherein vascular cambium is present, and this is another transverse section of dicot stem, wherein you will find core cambium. Core cambium is absent in case of root. It is only present in stem, and that too in dicot stem and not in monocot stem. And but in some cases it is seen that core cambium is also present in roots, but generally it is present only in the stem. They are all lateral in position and they give rise to secondary permanent tissue, and that results in radial growth or secondary growth of angiosperms. Okay, that improves the girth or the breadth of angiosperm's body. Then comes secondary meristem. It is derived from primary permanent tissue which have the capacity of diffusion. For example, Corpus cambium of roots, and interfascicular cambium of stem. So these are the examples of secondary meristem which are derived from primary permanent tissue, and they have the capacity of division. Now we'll talk about the meristem based on position. So far we have studied meristem based on origin and development. Now we'll study about the meristem based on position, and then after this we will study meristem based on function. So let's proceed towards our topic, that is meristem based on position. See, these are the three types. Okay, first is apical, second is intercalary, and third is lateral. Okay, so this is the meristem which is based on position. So first we will study about the apical meristem, which is found in apex of the stem and the apex of the root or tip of the root and stem. This is the longitudinal section of shoot apical meristem, and this is the longitudinal section of root apical meristem. And it is responsible for increase in linear growth, that is longitudinal growth, or it helps in improving the length of the plant body. Now, what are the products of apical meristem? It is one of the three kinds of primary tissue. We know that, okay, that apical meristem, it is one of three kinds of primary tissue. Primary tissue, it is partially differentiated. That is, the cells in these tissue, they have been set on the path to become a specific type of a tissue, but the cells, they are still dividing to become further specialized. Okay, and the three types of primary tissue are Protoderm, Procambium, and ground meristem. So Protoderm, it becomes the plant outer layer, which we call it as epidermis. Okay, so Protoderm, it gives rise to epidermis. Okay, and Procambium, it gives rise to vascular tissue such as xylem and phloem. Xylem, it helps in carrying, or it helps in the conduction of water, and phloem, it carries sugar from the leaf to the other parts of the body, plant body. Then comes ground meristem. Pith, hypodermis, and cortex, these all, they comprise ground meristem. It becomes any of the various type of the ground tissue, the most common type of plant tissue. That's why ground meristem, it is also called as bulk tissue, because it makes, or it acquires large area of the plant cell. Okay, and it helps in storage also, because it stores starch and it supports plant physically, and it houses the chloroplasts that are vital for photosynthesis. Okay, now several theories have been put forward to explain the activity of apical meristem, and which are those? First is apical cell theory. It was first proposed by Hofmeister and it was advanced by Nageli. Okay, so according to this theory, a single apical cell, that means a cell which is present at the tip, it is the structural and the functional unit of apical meristem, which governs the entire process of apical growth or longitudinal growth of angiosperms. However, such organization has been found only in cryptogams. Okay, so this was the first theory which was put forward to explain the activity of apical meristem. Then comes histogen cell theory. It was given by Hanstein, and according to this theory, root and shoot apices, they consist of central or inner part mass, which we call it as pleurome, and which is surrounded by middle region, which are composed of same diametric cells, which are called as peribelum. And the outermost layer is called as dermatogen. And dermatogen, it gives rise to epidermis, which is the outer layer. Peribelum, it forms cortex, and endodermis and pleurome, it forms vascular bundle and pith. So these three layers, they are called as histogen by the scientist Hanstein. Okay, so this was about the histogen cell theory, which was put forward to explain apical meristem. Then comes Tunica corpus theory. It was proposed by Smith scientist, and according to this theory, mass of dividing cells are of two types. Which are those? First is tunica. Tunica is the name of a mass of a dividing cell, and it is the outermost layer that consists of one position of different meristem or more peripheral layers of cells that forms the outer region, and corpus is the inner layer, which is made up of central undifferentiated multi-layered mass of cell. And epidermis, it is derived from the tunica, okay, and other tissue from remaining layer of tunica and corpus. Okay, so this was the tunica corpus theory, which was put forward by a Smith scientist to propose apical meristem. Now another tissue is intercalary. Okay, so they are the portion of apical meristem which got separated from them due to formation of permanent tissue in between. Let's see, this is apical meristem, okay, and this is intercalary meristem, and this portion it is longitudinal meristem. Okay, apical meristem we have studied. Now we'll study about intercalary meristem. See, this is the permanent tissue. That's why intercalary meristem, it is a part of apical meristem, but it later on gets separated because of the formation of permanent tissue in between apical meristem and intercalary meristem. Now intercalary meristem, it can be seen in wheat and grass, and this is the node and this is the node, and the space between two nodes is internode, and this is called as intercalary meristem. Okay, and it adds to the length of the meristem, and it is seen in mint leaf, as you can see that here in this portion intercalary meristem is present. Okay, so this is the intercalary meristem that helps in the providing the longitudinal growth to the plant body, and it is found at the base of the node. Node is the area from where leaf emerges, okay, and it increases the length of the leaf. Then comes lateral meristem. See, this is the lateral meristem, and it is arranged parallel to the longitudinal axis of the plant body. See, this is these two lines are representing lateral meristem, and it increases the diameter or breadth of the stem and the branches. Okay, see, this is the vascular cambium. Vascular cambium, it helps in increasing the breadth of the angiosperms. This is the transverse section of dicot stem, wherein cork cambium is present. See, this is the outer layer, and which is called as cork cambium. Now we have studied so far meristem based on origin and development, and meristem based on their position. Now we'll study meristem based on their function and significance of meristem. So Hanstein, I have already taught you Hanstein theory, which he put forward to explain apical meristem. So Hanstein, he classified meristem into three distinct histological zones, which we call it as histogens. This is the longitudinal section of vegetative shoot. First is dermatogen, second is pleurome, and this is periblem. Okay, let's see how it is. So meristem based on function. Haberlandt, he classified meristem on the basis of their function into three main types. First is dermatogen, which give rise to protoderm, pleurome, which later on give rise to procambium, and then comes periblem, which give rise to ground meristem in later stages of development. Okay, so protoderm meristem, it is the outermost layer of the young growing region which develops to form epidermal tissue system. I have already taught you. And then comes Procambium meristem. It is composed of elongated meristematic cell that give rise to vascular tissue systems such as xylem and phloem. Then comes ground meristem. It is composed of large thick walled cells which develop to form ground tissue systems such as hypodermis, pith and cortex. So this is meristem based on function: protoderm meristem, procambium meristem and ground meristem. So this is protoderm, which give rise to epidermis and forms epidermal tissue system. This is procambium, which give rise to primary vascular tissue such as xylem and phloem. And this is ground meristem. It lies just inner to the protoderm and it surrounds the procambium, and it give rise to ground tissue systems such as hypodermis, cortex, medullary rays, pericycle, endodermis, and pith. All these ground tissue system parts such as hypodermis, cortex, I'll be explaining you in the later sections of this chapter presentation. Okay, but for the time being, just know that ground meristem, it give rise to ground tissue systems such as hypodermis, cortex, endodermis, pith, pericycle, and medullary rays. Some meristem, they occur also in root tip. First is protoderm, second is procambium, and this is ground meristem. And this is the root cap, which I have already taught you in the chapter Morphology of Flowering Plant in detail. So for better understanding, you can refer to that presentation. So root cap, it is like thimble shaped. Okay, root cap, it is also known as calyptrogen. Okay, I repeat, root cap is also known as calyptrogen, and this area is called as quiescent center or Z0, that has very low mitotic activity. That means very low cell division ability. Therefore, at the root tip, meristem is subterminal. Now let's see what's the significance of meristem, students. It is responsible for the growth by addition of new cells in various regions of plant. It gives rise to new organs because these cells, they keep on dividing, and thus it helps in the repair process. Intercalary meristem, which I have already taught you, it helps in the elongation of node and internodes and petiole. And vascular cambium, it adds new vascular tissue such as secondary growth, or it helps in the radial growth of angiosperm, which is also called as secondary growth. Then Corpus, it forms protective covering around the stem and root. Okay, so this was about the significance of meristem, and this was all about the meristem based on origin and development, function, and position. In my next section of the presentation, that is third section, we will discuss about the permanent tissue and its type, such as simple tissue, parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma. So till then, stay tuned and keep watching Edupedia Word videos. Thank you.